Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar from Microsoft and National COE on Threat Intelligence in Cyberspace. We have our panelists Mr. Boobeshwaran SK and Ms. Sapna Wadhwa with us. Over to you guys. Thank you.
Hi everyone, good afternoon and thank you for joining the webinar first of all. And let me go through the slides. And today we are going to see about what threat intelligence is in our cyberspace. Okay, let's quickly, what happened? Okay, so let me quickly introduce myself. Myself, Boobeshwaran. I'm a passionate threat intelligence researcher, part of Microsoft different threat intelligence team. I have almost 5+ years of experience in various cyber disciplines like threat hunting, threat intelligence, cloud security, etc. And in threat intelligence, I am CCIP and CTIA certified. And along with me, I have my colleague Sapna here, and I will let her introduce herself. Over to you, Sapna.
So hello guys, a very good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar. So I'm Sapna this side. I'm the part of Microsoft 365 Defender Threat Intelligence team, and I'm a highly enthusiastic and keen threat hunter. And I'm having around 7+ years of experience in cybersecurity domain. Over to you, Boobesh. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Boobesh.
Thank you. So let's quickly jump in. And this is what our agenda for the next 1 hour. So first we'll just go through the overview of TI and the basic ground rules that we should understand, like the life cycle and the types of intelligence that we produce and how it can be effectively shared among the cyber domains. And we cover some of the OSN stuff, and we touch upon the diamond model approach for intrusion analysis. And last, we'll go with what are the future scopes for our cyber threat intelligence program, and then we would take up the QAs. Okay, let's quickly jump in on overview of threat intelligence. Okay, before I jump into threat intelligence, so I would just take a few minutes to understand, clear you where we are as an industry as of now. So we are in a digital era, I would say. We have seen like exponential transformation of digitalization around the world. Of course, there are many reasons out of it, like it would be customer experience, or it could be industrial competitions, or technology innovations, many things. But down the line, every organization and country is very keen in building up the digital infrastructure. And this growth, you could see, is expected to add almost $100 trillion to the world's economy by 2025. So on the other side, we could see because of this digital transformation grows, the cyber threat landscape becomes more wider because everything becomes a data when it goes to digital, and it's accessible from anywhere in the world, and not physically, might be virtually. So also it becomes easy target for the adversaries. When I say adversary, it's actually the attacker who is targeting the organization. So the risk is not only for the corporates, it also for the nation. So nowadays when you see any defense system of any country, you could see a cyber army there. So they would be able to defend all against all these APT advanced threats and do the cyber warfare. And so proactively to defend all these nation state attacks or any kind of APT groups, we really want to understand what, why, and how these attackers or adversaries intrude into our infrastructure. So to answer all these questions, we need a lot of analysis on data points. I would say on the historical attack data points or the current active attack data points that would help the defenders to proactively prioritize or combat with these kind of threats and protect our organization or our nation. So that's where our threat intel role comes in. So we are trying to understand all the data points, existing data points, and produce intelligence out of it. And I would say, like, as an analyst, I would say only it's not by me. We combine different things like people, process, and technology. That's how it works in CTA program. So let's quickly see what threat intelligence is. There are quite a lot of definitions for threat intelligence defined in the industry, but uh, I would just point out few key terms that means what threat intelligence to me in my perspective. So when I say threat intelligence, it should be like contextual or actionable input to any team that we provide. It could be any kind of creating new hunting hypothesis, or it could be prioritizing a vulnerability or a threat, or it could be any workaround or any kind of actionable advice. Its actions differ based on the consumers of those intelligence. And the second point is I would highlight it should help in decision making for the executives. So that's where they could think of either to enrich, like hire new more analysts or enrich their technology or tools so that they could defend against these targeted threats. So this this should be the main focus. And the other one is we should be like more proactive enough to find the unknown threats that is existing in the environment. So that's where our intelligence plays a vital role. And here, this is a quick survey of from SANS recently about how adoption of CTA program by every organization. You could see there are like quite a number of increase in percentage that if many organizations tries to understand the importance of intelligence and they adopt the CTA program to them in their as a part of their cyber strategy. So what would help them by adopting this? So this would be helping them to be more proactive and predictive in understanding and combat against these advanced threats. That's a primary motive, and also it helps them to prioritize threats, especially when if you are in a SOC side, if you are experienced in a SOC side, you might have held up with a lot of alerts every day, and we don't know what to work first or second. So this program would help us to prioritize the threats and work on those prioritization. And as we already seen, enhancing executive communication. So it would also help the org specific provide an org specific threat landscape so that the organization calculate the risk and plan their business strategy accordingly. So let's see what is the life cycle and the types of CTI. So first, let's go with life cycle. Okay, before go to life cycle, let's see what intelligence is. It's a basic definition of intelligence. How do we produce intelligence? It's starting from data, converting, processing them to an information, and then from information, connect multiple dots and produce any intelligence. The same way it works for threat intelligence as well. So let's go to planning stage. In planning, I would say like three focus areas. One is intelligence requirements. So basically, we as a threat intel analyst, we don't produce intelligence for ourselves. We produce for other cyber defenders. So mainly we need to focus on their requirements. So sit with them, understand their requirements or what is the pain points, and then gather those details as your requirement and try to fill those gaps. So that is the first focus point. Second one is threat modeling. Threat modeling is like know yourself and know what your advisory needs. When I say knowing yourself, you know like what kind of data you have, what is the cron jewel in your organization, and you should know what your adversary, targeting adversary to your organization needs from you, what kind of data it needs from you, or what they could target from you. So when you put these two questions up, you will get fill those requirements together. And the third one is starting point for the next stage, like planning for data collections. So you have to understand what are the data sets required for us, like how long you're going to have those data points. Either you need only internal telemetry, or I need something from external feeds like commercial intel feeds, something like that. So think of that way and prepare those collection requirements as well. And if you have already an existing CTA program, then it would be well and good to get find all the key factors that is missing in your past fulfillment and then add those to the current requirements. Because since it's a cyclic process, it's like getting a feedback and enriching our requirement and processing accordingly. So that should be our cycle. So after collection, so let's go to collection. We already planned what to collect, what kind of data to collect. So now we have to plan for the data sets. There are a lot of available data sets in open source or in closed forums, many things. So just check out the reliable sources that you want and it will fulfill your requirement. So like for intrusion analysis, the best data I would suggest is our internal telemetry, our own internal telemetry to detect intrusion analysis. And when you say for malware collections, there are wide variety of sandboxes available, like BT or a hybrid sandbox, a Joe sandbox, maybe like BT Virus Total, maybe a popular one that everyone knows. And there are other ones like TLS certificate, so which is one of the crucial factor now in our investigation. So you could use census.io, scans.io, many other tools we have available here. And there are many wide amount of open source tools. Open source, it could be an external feeds like from a closed forum like ISACs, from certs, or from specific industry focused thread feeds. So you can collect from many of those. Maybe we'll talk about those in future in the next slides. So this is how we will try to collect a reliable source. So once you collect all the data, how do you process those? So in processing, there are two focus areas. One is structuring the data, and the other one is storing the structured data. So when I say structuring the data, the data that we are getting from open source or from any forum, it would be like unstructured, or they have their own way of specifying or putting down the data. So we need it collectively a single structure so that it would be easy for our analysis. So for that, there are like right now multiple structured models available. So just use them, break the data and put them into buckets using different frameworks like Mirai framework or kill chain or even diamond models. That would help to figure out what are the patterns or an overlap between different threats. And when it comes to storing the information, there are many organizations think of TIP, like Threat Intel platform, commercial Threat Intel platform, or open source Threat Intel platform. And there are a few organizations, they think of building their own in-house Threat Intel platforms. So for any kind of open source, you could use like Mist or ThreatNode, many other platforms. And there are many commercial platforms I don't want to mention. So you can choose, but while choosing, just validate your requirement against it, whether that specific tip will satisfy your requirements or not. So that's for on the processing the information. So next comes the analysis and production. So here is the major role as a threat analyst we have. So here I would say the focus points would be on the analysis workflow, on evidence inclusions, and on doing a structured analysis. So the analyst, every analyst, as an analyst, I have a different workflow, and my colleague will have a different workflow. So always try to adopt a new or explore new workflows that would enrich your thought process. Don't stick with a single workflow completely for the investigation. And the second one I said is on evidence inclusion. So when I say evidence inclusion, collect all those evidences, overlook the evidences, correlate with the past events, which would help to discover the unknown threats in your environment. So that is one of the other focus points. The third one is structuring the data, structured analysis. So you can use any kind of tool, or you can even use an Excel or a whiteboard. If you have like enough knowledge on different tools, leverage link analysis tool like Multigos to structure or collect this data, link the dots. That's where our analysis should be. Link multiple dots. That's where you will get an intelligence. So that's it from analysis and production perspective. Next comes the dissemination, getting the feedback. So right now we have seen everything is done. Our everything is right. So who is the consumers of those intelligence? That is the main point here. So we have to provide our intelligence to right audiences. We know already, we did in the planning stage. We know which audiences require what kind of intelligence. So deliver those right intel to right audiences. In case if you have a right intelligence, perfect intelligence, but if you are delivered to different teams, they don't know what to do with those intelligence actually. So that would be like waste of time. So provide the right intelligence to right audiences in the cyber domains, I would say. And it's at most required that to get the feedback from the respective teams so that you can improve those in the next cycle. So that's right on the dissemination. So when I say right intel to the right audience, here comes how do we know what kind of intelligence will be consumed by what kind of people? That's where we just clubbed all those intelligence delivery into 4 different buckets. First one is strategic, operational, tactical, and then technical. So let's go with the strategic first. So strategic is providing a high level of information regarding the cybersecurity posture of the specific arc, or details about financial impact that various activities or the cyber trends and possible business impact of the cyber trends. So all these details would help the take a high level decision, like a business strategy based on the unknown risk. It's like discovering unknown. So we know what could be there and what could be the risk. So they could design the cyber strategy accordingly. So that's what strategic intel is. And next comes the operational one. So operational is completely a contextual info about a security event or an incident of a specific threat. So what advisory group are more active in the industry? So just get those details around and prioritize your resources around that, or deploy any kind of security asserts to stop those upcoming attacks, or at least you can create a defense mechanism to identify those attacks at the earliest stages to reduce our risk. So the next one is tactical intelligence. So when is it tactical, would say we should focus on the targeted advisory. It could be they could target in a specific industry, or if you feel they are targeting a specific arc, if they are targeting my arc. So work around those specific adversaries or the attackers, gather those behaviors and focus on defending or creating attack vector, what all attack vectors they used in the past, or what all TTPs they used in the past, what all actions they performed. So create a defense mechanism against those specific targeted threats. So next becomes a technical one. So in technical, it's all about indicators of compromise, IOCs. So indicators, almost it's like it has a shorter lifespan, but still it has a capability to detect threats which we don't detect by our traditional SIM product or by hunting methodologies. So that would help in technical stuff. So right now we see what are the types of intelligence that we produce. So now let's go on to see how these type of intelligence can be effectively consumed by different cyber domains. So that will be taken over by Sapna. So over to you, Sapna.
Thank you so much, Bhubesh, for this. So now I'll start with how we can effectively utilize these TI in respect to the. So I need to share my screen, is it?
Yes, Sapna, I have given you the presenter rights. You can now share your screen.
Okay. Wait. Just a second. So wait.
If not, you can just give me the control. I can share it for her.
Yeah, because I need to open.
Yep. Yep, you can go ahead now.
Okay, so as Bhubesh already explained that what are the basically types of threat intelligence. So we'll now study that which team will actually fall into which bucket. So there are multiple teams who would utilize threat intelligence. Now we'll discuss which team and how they will utilize it basically. So we have we'll go first into the operational threat intelligence. Here, what we'll do, actually, threat intelligence team will help team to prioritize the vulnerabilities, which can't wait, and it's the biggest threat. So by combining internal vulnerability scanning data external intelligence from a wide range of sources. We can provide information about the vulnerability and various latest attacks, and respective team can patch it accordingly. It would be similar with the threat hunter as well as the forensics team. So now we'll jump into the technical type of threat intelligence, where Bhubesh already explained. It's all about the IOC. So here, the SOC and the incident response team will come into the picture. As a part of threat intelligence team, what we'll share? We'll share the basic information like IOCs, and which would improve the detection mechanism at our defense sensors like endpoints, firewalls, intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention system, etc. So next is the security leadership team, which is the part of our the tactical threat intelligence, where not tactical. It's basically comes under the strategic. So here in the security leadership team, what information threat intelligence team will provide? It will provide information like what kind of attack are more frequent, practices, technologies that are most or least successful to stop, mitigate these attacks. Okay, so after providing all this information, so what basically the security leadership team will do? They will plan some strategy to block these kind of attacks. Now we'll jump into the tactical type of threat intelligence, where teams are like SIM team, security intrusion, security event. Security incident and event management team, IT managers and IT admins are there. So here, what kind of information will provide? Will provide high-level technical information like TTPs used by specific campaign or a threat actor. So will help them in understanding how adversaries are expected to target organization and what are the objectives and what are the attack vectors and their technical capabilities basically. So move on to next slide, Bhubesh, please. So now we'll discuss how it can be achieved. So we can achieve it by the capability maturity model. So now I discuss what is basically a capability maturity model. This model is basically for assessing current and the desired maturity state of the capability required to produce cyber threat intelligence. Now discuss what basically the need of this model. So as we know that threat intelligence is the information which any organization used to understand the threats they have right now, will or in future or currently targeting the organization. So it should, the capability maturity model or the team should be mature enough so that every team can effectively utilize it and prevent the attack. So now in the next slide, what we'll be going to discuss is about what are these 5 levels of capability maturity model. So we'll start with the first model, first phase, it is the level 0 phase. Here, actually the organization doesn't know like where to start, and they are not even aware about where to keep the data and who are basically the stakeholders. So data at this stage is like one size fits none, means that the data is raw, unstructured like spreadsheets, and makes it very difficult to deduce that how to block the attack. So at this stage, we require a lot of improvement. As we know, we have to start collecting all the data at one place. So how we can start? We can start aggregating internal and external data and cross-referencing it to discover patterns of the attack and try to weed out the false positives here. So this is the first phase. Now we'll move on to the second phase. What we'll do here? So we'll start warming up the threat intelligence. So what we'll do is we'll start automating. Like we will start to mature the level. And how we can do that? To understand and address the massive threat landscape. So what we'll do is we'll identify the premium feed providers which are publicly available and gather intelligence from that, and even try to gather the context about threats. Here, what we use is we use the tactical threat intelligence to block malicious activity, at the firewalls and at the other gateway devices. So this is what we'll do in the first level. Now we'll move on to the second level. So here, what we'll do is we'll try to produce some operational TI so that it can be used by the operational team. How we can do that? We can start automating and deploying the security tasks that can be automatically analyze the content of the threat indicators and the relationship between them. So what is the need to build security orchestration here? So how we can do that? So what we can do is we'll start automating all the security tasks by building automated chains of events with a specified event in a network. So here we'll start moving from reactive to the proactive stage. So how can we do that? We can use custom scripts, an orchestration tool, or any threat intelligence platform which is available online. Okay. So for example, I'm explaining you with the example. So in this level, actually the organization are starting to build on the operational capabilities achieved so far. Okay. So how can we do that? Like to perform a relationship modeling on a phishing email to determine who sent it, who received the email, and which domains it registered to, like IP addresses, which tries to resolve to that domain, and so on, using the security orchestration and threat intelligence. So now we'll move to the next level of the threat capability maturity model, which is what we'll do is we'll place all the threat intelligence programs in one place. Okay, so how we can do that? So as we know that we already we already start automating the things. So at this level, we'll try to establish some TI processes and workflows in place, and even beginning to create their own threat intelligence. On the top of that, they are beginning to measure the efficacy, their processes to report both the progress and the security infrastructure held to the leadership. Okay, so now after doing all these things, now we have a well-defined threat intelligence in place. So what basically at this level we have built and utilized as much as automation as possible. So organization have time to focus on more important tasks like hunting threats and looking for the new TTPs. The teams have completely moved out from reactive to the proactive stage and are actively trying to hunt threats before they attack, and so that it can be effectively utilized by the other teams we have. So next slide, please, Boobeshwaran. That is all about how we can achieve it. So now we'll move into the OSINT. So what OSINT basically is? So OSINT is open source intelligence. So by the name itself, it's specifying the information which is publicly available and that's most widely used. So what is the reason that it is using most widely? Because it is free of cost. That doesn't even make sense that the information is free of cost, so everyone can utilize it. So it is analyzed by both the utilized by both the attackers as well as the defenders. So attackers use it to target the organization, and defenders use it to secure the organization. So there are a lot of several sources from where we can collect the data for this intelligence, like security websites, news media, social media. We have government-sponsored security analysis centers. We have security researchers. We have dark web. We have threat feeds. We have research blogs, and these are the particular sources from where we can collect the data. So how can we utilize it basically? So we can utilize it by identifying the latest TTPs and used by the threat actors, vulnerabilities which is under active attack. So this is the way we can utilize the open source intelligence. So next slide, Bhupesh, please. So here's an example where what we have done is we collated open source intelligence data into the actionable intelligence. So we have internal team who looked into the data about some of the APT groups and the commodity malwares. So they collected the techniques like obfuscated PowerShells, pair phishing, and the process following techniques which are not restricted only to the advanced persistent threat groups. Okay, so they are also prevalent in the commodity malwares. So actually, all these TTPs are used by both the commodity malwares and the APT. So how can we secure that? So these type of insights can be used by the organization to guide the security investments. So even organization can place a defensive choke points to detect or prevent these attacker techniques so that they can stop not only annoying commodity malware but also the high profile targeted attacks. Yeah, that's it. Like how we can do that. So even
Thanks,
we can
Sapna.
see that we have.
You have something?
Yeah. Even we can
Sorry.
see that there are APT groups named Saffron Rose, Stone Panda, Snake, Muddy Water, Hangover, Emissary Panda. So all of them are utilizing techniques like PowerShell, scripting, and these techniques are utilized by Emotet, which is a commodity malware. Thank you so much. Over to you, Boobesh, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Sapna. So let's quickly see. We have a few more stuff there. So let's see how do we attribute a threat actor and how do we leverage a diamond model to do that. So basically what diamond model is, so this is an analytical model built for intrusion analysis. And this model is used initially leveraged by threat intel, and now it is being equally leveraged by IR teams or sometimes SOC teams as well. And maybe the diagram looks a bit complex, but just focus on the key means the endpoints like adversary, capabilities, and the victim and the infrastructure. So this is a kind of a question game, so where we try to fill all the answers to it. So understand that there is an think of there is a threat in our network, and for fill all those details against these questions, so you will get it. So you can see the adversary develop some capabilities. That when I say adversary, it's a threat actor or a threat group, and we have to understand what is his objective. So the adversary target develops some capabilities like malwares or exploits or hacking tools or any other kind of payloads, and then use some kind of infrastructure. What infrastructure? Like it could be a domain or IP or an email infrastructure, phishing kit, or even they could compromise some other sites to launch a kind of attack, or even they have used an USB stick, which I have seen in the Stuxnet. So those kind of infrastructures they leverage and target the specific victim. So at the victim side, it could be an organization target, or it could be even a specific asset target. So they can target any kind of website they host, or it kind of users like VIP or VVIP users. They could target anything to get the data. So what else? Okay, so let's quickly have a example. Okay, so I missed this meta feature. Sorry. This meta feature, these would be very helpful. This would be curated from the incident, and they provide a context and information about that specific incident that you investigate. Maybe sometimes during your investigation, certain features or meta features might be initially unknown, and when you try or attempt to fill those gaps, then it drives the complete investigation. So let's try with an example so that it would be easy for you to understand. So this is one of the practical example that we have done. So we had two different campaigns. One is running on the enterprise, and the other one is running on the mobile network. When I say enterprise, it's targeting Windows, and mobile, it was targeting Android platform. And we could see both the campaigns has the victim as targeting financial sector, and then we see the capabilities like they have used open source codes, and they have masquerade rated COVID-19 team, and they have used different, I would say, common techniques like web injection, password grabber, keylogger, cookie grabbing, all those techniques, and they have used the same infrastructure. That's where the key, which brought these two campaigns mapping together. So we have observed the domain names they have used with a similar pattern in both these campaigns, and they have used the same tld.xyz, and even they shared the same name server, and they got the infrastructure built with the same ASN. So it means the same ISP provider. So, and then when we see the objective of with all these evidences, it's like espionage campaigns, both enterprise targeting as well as the mobile targeting. So with all these evidences and facts, we just attributed two different stuff here. So one is either the attacker could have targeted both Windows and Android platforms by targeting a specific organization, or it might be an attacker lent their infrastructure as a service for hosting campaigns, which happens mostly nowadays. So this, just a second. So this is the infrastructure mapping that we have did. On the right side, you can see the phishing campaign targeted enterprise, and left you can see the Android campaign. So these all the domains we mapped to URLs to domains, domains to IPs, IPs to ASNs, and that's how we ended up in bringing up these attributions. That's all about diamond model, and let's quickly see what are the future scopes of CTI program. So till now we mostly focus on enterprise infrastructure, and even cloud and mobile infrastructures as well. We are trying to produce intelligence on that, but there are like more open scope in these two areas. One is OT and other one is IoT. OT is nothing but operational technology. IoT, Internet of Things, hope you all know. So adversaries, all the adversaries started targeting or focusing towards these technologies because these have a less defensive mechanism when compared to our enterprise defense strategy or enterprise defense security mechanisms. So when I say OT, what is OT? Just to give a basic understanding. So it's an overall system of that manages the industrial control systems. We call it as ICS to run the industrial operations, like any kind of mining operations, or it can be oil, gas operations, or nuclear power plants, electric power plants, etc. So all these industrial operations needs industrial control systems. That's where we call as operation technology. And IoT, when we say IoT, mostly you guys know all the smart objects that connects to or connects or communicates through internet. We call it as IoT. We can use, we can say as mobile phones, smart home systems, and etc. We have smart cameras and many things. So those all comes under IoT categories. So even there are some medical equipments like pacemakers or fit bands and like hearing aids. So all those also started communicating to internet. So we call those specific medical equipments IoTs as IOMT. It's Internet of Medical Things. So this is a term used in the industry. So let's see how CTI will be used for these OT and IoT industries. So first thing is, due to the digital transformation, we see the IT and OT starts converging, and even OT and IoT starts converging. So when I say convergence, initially the OT industry will be like an air-gapped industry. They won't have any connection or network connection or anything outside their closed network. So now, due to this transformation, they start connecting IT infrastructure as well as OT infrastructure for like better automation or better command and control. So they converge to both. And even for OT industry, OT and IoT convergence, yes, they have used many smart sensors in the OT industries. So it starts communicating to internet. So it becomes, due to this convergence, you see, there are the threat landscape for OT or IoT industry becomes wider than usual. Previously, it was in a closed network. Now it becomes open network since due to this convergence. So that's one of the scope that we could contribute to map that. And the next one is the cybersecurity principles. So like basically for IT infrastructure, we say as CIA, like confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So that's a priority principle for IT infrastructure. But when we move to OT infrastructure, it is completely different. They call it as VSIS. But still, in a simpler way, I could say it's a reverse of CIA. First, the priority will be availability, and the second will be integrity, and third will be confidentiality. So the principle itself changes. So our focus points, everything would have be different when it comes to OT and IoT. And the next one is advisory threat behaviors, consequences of cyber attacks. Yes, obviously the adversaries target OT industry and IoT industry would be much different, but still there are few certain adversaries, they target both IT as well as OT infrastructure, but there are very few. And the threat behaviors, everything is completely different from our current threat landscape, or would say threat behaviors. And no visibility into OT and IoT risk management to managements. Yes, so as I say, there is no proper asset management process in OT and IoT industry. So it is very difficult to calculate the risk and prioritize what to save first or what to save second, or what are the cyber strategy that we could build for these OT and IoT systems. So that's why we need to build up the visibility to management, like the prioritize the products, controls, and then they could take a strategy around that. And the next one is the impact. We could say simply an impact. So basically the impact, maybe in the next example, we could discuss more on that impact. Next one is vulnerability impacts and actions. And even when it comes to vulnerability, so it's completely different from our IT vulnerability patchings. So we have a separate patching cycle, and we could patch directly in production, but it's not the case in IT, means OT and IoT industries, because they use a collection of variety of vendor products. Different vendors would release different patches at different times. So we cannot stick with a single patch cycle to do that. And also we cannot just directly go into production and patch that, because something goes wrong, everything, the production will stop. So availability gets affected. So the priority is availability for OT. So that's where the patching cycle or the prioritizing the vulnerability patches would be completely different. So that's where CTI provides more input there. Let's take a quick example of few OT attacks and IoT attacks. STuxnet, it's a very popular incident that most everybody will know as sabotage attack on Iran's nuclear plant at Natas. Even recently, like 4-5 days back, there is one more attack on the same nuclear plant happened, and there was a political game going on there. So when we take out this incident, it happened in 2010. The STuxNet is a simple worm that has infected almost 2 lakh computers in that infrastructure, OT infrastructure, and it took out almost thousands of centrifuges, nuclear centrifuges at that plant. And when you see the impact, financial impact, you could see almost $50 to $60 billion loss. And also, apart from that, there was a currency drop by 80%. So the economy of the Iran was completely collapsed, I would say. And also, we could see there are like many similar malware strains they used, and they dubbed the actual STuxNet malware, and they were releasing new malware POCs. So next one is which one is targeting IoT attacks. So in 2016, this is also a major attack. Since it is easy to connect, I just took all these 2 attacks. So Mirai botnet. Mirai is one of the topmost malware threat for IoTs. So in 2016, it almost compromised 3 lakh internet devices, and then they formulated those devices to attack against multiple websites, social network websites. Especially we could see Twitter, Netflix, even other high profile media channels. All those websites were down almost for 2 hours. So that were like a huge loss or huge impact we could see. So now we understand what is the scope of us in CTI in OT and IoT industry. But what are the challenges as an analyst that we could face? So these are few challenges, I would say. Like first is the threat landscape. So we know the attack vectors for the enterprise infrastructure. We know this is how phishing is one of the initial access, and then they could do laterally, and they could transfer to CNC. They could do something. So we know the landscape, and when we know the infrastructure better. But when we take OT industry or IoT industry, it's become more complex. That's where the second point you see, it requires a special knowledge. Yes. So all those OT and IoT devices, they have a different protocols of communication. So it's not just like our TCP/IP protocols. It's completely a different protocols, and there will be different communication mechanism based on different vendors as well, different products and different vendors. So it needs some knowledge to understand all these OT and IoT technologies first. And each OT network and devices are different. Yeah. So as I say, OT networks, we have different wide variety of sectors like energy sector or oil and industry sector or nuclear power plant sector. So they have different sectors. They have a different components they use in their operation site. They could use a different type of sensors, or they could use different type of ICS or SCADA. So each sector has a different components being used. So that's where we need to understand the uniqueness of that specific sector, means specific infrastructure, and then we have to act on that. The next one is IOC and threat behaviors. Yes, there are common IOCs that we could push back to firewalls. They do have the firewall infrastructure and stuff. So just like that, we cannot go and block. That would create a much impact. Again, it will hit on the vulnerability. So sorry, it would keep hit on the availability of that specific operations. And the decision making calculus is different. Yes, there could be a different decision making when it comes to executives, because the impact of IT network as well as OT and IoT network is completely different. It would be like very depends on the operations. So the decision making also would differ. And then we could see there are many devices, whatever components they use in OT and IoT, they use mostly in hard-coded passwords. So that would be easy for the attacker to just come in and crack those. And okay, so that's all about completely on intelligence. And let's quickly see how Microsoft responds to those advanced threats. So we have different teams here in Microsoft. Like we have Mystic team who takes care of tracking the advanced persistence threats, and we are in Defender Intelligence team. So we mostly focus on tactical and operational intelligence. So we share whatever we are findings to the community via different medias. Like we are sharing blogs or Twitter handles. You could see Microsoft Security Intelligence Twitter handle to get the updated threats. Whatever we observe, we just post it there. And what else? We have also the commercial stuff. We have MTE as a service, Microsoft Threat Experts. We provide a customer-focused hunting specifically to capture any critical threats that exist in their unique to their environment. And it will be like completely expert-driven service. So we provide a targeted attack notification, or we get some questions to them and deliver provide intelligence come hunting service over there. So with those, we provide threat analytical report, which has a clear cut, which would give a clear cut idea on what threat, how it behaves, what is the protection mechanism that we should take, what are the mitigation steps, and what are vulnerabilities it targets, how is their impact in their specific organization. So this, you could see the latest threats, what all been there, and you could see the high impact threats based on the current situation, and most probably you could see what if there is some vulnerability that is applicable to in your environment, it would highlight that as well. So this is how we protect our community and our customers. And yeah, that's it. These are a few references that you could verify then and there, like security blogs, intelligence reports, and even for OT and IoT, we have Azure Defender for IoT, and we release some blogs over there then and there. So you could just refer and get to know stuff. And that's it from our side. Thank you for attending the webinar, and we are good to take up any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sapna and Mr. Boobeshwaran. So guys, just in case you have any queries, you can raise your hand and ask your questions. So I can see there are a few questions in the questions column. Can you please address them?
Just a second. There is the questions. I'm not. Can you just read out the question? I'm not getting where it is.
Even I'm not getting where it is.
Okay, so let me read out. There's a question. It has been observed that the advisories are using their own resources to initiate attack and use the compromised machines of other innocent organizations of the other countries. This does not give the true picture of original countries or actual group. That's it, I guess. Sorry, yeah, that's it. So it's a comment, I guess, not a question. Another question, let me read out. So there's another question. Most of the intelligence collected so far is limited to IPs initiating port scan or part of our DDoS attacks. Under these conditions, how significant or important CTI is? What is the false positive rate of or degree of assurance?
Okay, so when it comes to IPs, so that's what initially I said. The IOCs are now very short term because the attackers are using a dynamic infrastructure. So you could use maximum of a month or two. So that's where the IOC, especially the domains or the IPs, would be kept in a blocking stage.
Okay, so another question is, how can we score our intel which we are receiving from multiple sources, on what parameters basis?
It depends upon your requirement, I would say, what your organization needs out of those open source or whatever data you collect. So basically, you can formulate with different frameworks like Mirai framework, which is famous now. You could leverage Mirai or a kill chain, put all those information into different buckets so that it would be easy to gather, find out the overlaps between any different threads. That would help you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So there's another question. Is there any other threat intelligence models other than diamond model?
So we have a capability.
Yeah.
Sorry. So as we explained that we have a capability maturity model other than the diamond model, where we can build the intelligence, from which we can build the intelligence.
So just to add that, so diamond model is basically to find the intrusion, basically for intrusion analysis, how the attacker entered in, and to track down their capabilities, to track down the infrastructure. So that's why it's like similar to our kill chain and Mirai framework. It's part of our analysis. That's it.
Well,
you could use even
Mirai. We can use that capability maturity model. Yeah.
Okay. So there's another question. To get the CTIs, does customer has to opt for the security services separately for its part of E5 licenses?
No, you get part of that as of now. So now we share our threat intelligence report. If you are an E5 customer, you would get threat analytics reports timely whenever we publish in your portal. You can check in your portal. You will have a separate tab called threat analytics. So you can just go there and verify that.
Okay, so there's a question, how can CTI capability measurement be done and automated?
Okay, so measurement and automation. So automation, when it comes to automation, there are tools, as I said, there are threat intelligence platforms, commercial platforms or open source platforms available. And even for processing, there are many structured data models like ML models that are currently available handy. So you can just plug and play work for automation works. And for what the other point was?
So this was all. So there's another question: at what stage of maturity should we opt for TIP platform?
Again, it's based on the requirement. So if you are a small org, if you are just started growing, I would suggest to initially implant at least the basic Intel program, what we see in maturity level 0 or 1, maturity level 1, so that it would be easy to develop further. Like when I say starting, you can start from basic technical intelligence, like gather the IOCs, plug and play into your SIMs or other different sensors. So it would be great start with the technical and tactical intelligence. That's how you mature your CTA program.
Okay. So there's a last question. SOAR and TIP, can we say a necessity in future for mostly financial organizations?
We could say not only targeting finance. Yes, there are most targets on financial, but still there are other organizations, means other industries also being targeted. You can store Intel information specifically on TTPs, not mostly on IOCs, because IOCs are like shorter lifespan. So you can store more on the TTPs or the threat-based insights for a long period. That would help, because that would be very difficult for the attacker to change then and there. So like example, if they create a malware piece, so just if you cannot just like that go and change other malware piece for the next attack. He's going to use almost similar malware piece for the other campaign as well. So when you capture those strains or piece of code inside and then train your defending asserts, then it would be easy to detect those, even if he changed some of the code in between.
Yeah, even I want to add, we can block the post exploitation tools like we have. Yeah.
Okay. I think that was all, Ms. Sapna and Mr. Boobeshwaran. Thank you very much for joining us as a panelist today. And thank you all the attendees for attending the session today. Hope you'll enjoy the session. We'll share the feedback link with you, and we would require your feedback on the same. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Have a great day.
Bye. Have a good day.